I'm delighted to welcome Prakash Pothamsetti, who is the Business Unit Head and Client Partner of Axtria, and he's going to tell us why pharma's future is not what we believe. Prakash.
Thank
you.
Thank you. Good morning. It's good to be back again, back in person. It truly is an honor to be at this event, working with such great minds, great leaders, all coming together with one single purpose. How do we break pharma's boundaries and rebuild US healthcare? Now, speaking of purpose, understanding the why behind any business, reflecting on the purpose statements is a good starting point. And we did that coming to this event. We actually did some research. We looked at the purpose statements of all pharma companies in this audience and more. And it was absolutely clear. There's no doubt about it. Right? It's all got to do with patient lives. And this is what we all believe in. We as healthcare consumers, we as pharma employees and partners believe in. Now, I'm not here to talk about the future of pharma in 2030 or beyond, but let's take a look at what you're doing today to shape your future over the next couple of years. What's the role that pharma is playing in the US healthcare ecosystem and which is fast evolving? Now, I know some of you operate in a different fiscal year, but for the most part, you're done identifying your strategic themes and investments and priorities for 2022 and beyond. At the top, digital transformation. These are all initiatives that help pharma transform the way they operate across the entire value chain. We all spoke about, I heard about omnichannel engagement driving customer centricity, right? How do you deliver a more meaningful and enriching experience to the HCP, to the physician? We saw the rise of the MSL over the COVID period, the last couple of years. Medical now has a seat and a voice at the table, and they are helping deliver value in these changing times. And the additional value-based investments that you're making in the areas of RWE and HUR. And then you have many initiatives which make your organization more data and insights driven. Where is the patient in all of this? How is this tied to your purpose? Now you might be thinking, I conveniently skipped patient centricity to make this point. But you've been talking about patient centricity for the last 10 years and more. And since the time the shift happened from primary to specialty, and it was all focused on addressing the patient needs after they're diagnosed and prescribed your product. Now, let's take a look at the role that pharma is playing in the US healthcare ecosystem. I know this is a pretty complicated picture, but don't be fooled by it. It actually truly is very complex and possibly more. Now, this is from the book also called The US Healthcare Ecosystem by Professor Rob Burns. He teaches healthcare management at the Wharton School of Business. And he's been doing it for the past 40 years, and he teaches to an MBA audience. So he keeps it very current, and this is as of 2021. Now, I was very curious to see the interactions that pharma was having with the patient. You see that small thing on the right, patients? And I was able to trace a couple of lines. And they were not direct lines. They were actually multiple hops. And all of them were pricing related. And the other thing which you can notice if you look at all the big circles, all the big players in the US healthcare ecosystem, one word that pops out, profitability. I believe we all have this opportunity to redo this schematic and make it more patient-centric, make it more stakeholder-centric, as opposed to it being more shareholder-centric. Now, how about the healthcare consumer? Now, I work at Axtria. We are headquartered at Berkeley Heights, New Jersey. I find it very convenient to go to Summit Medical Group, which is right next door, for most of my health needs. And I wear this thing on my wrist, which captures all of my vitals. And recently, when I went for my physical, I thought, let me take a look at this data and have a more meaningful conversation with my physician. And reflecting on my sleep data, my sleep patterns, and my resting heart rate during these times, I thought, some of these numbers were a little out of normal. And turns out, after speaking to a specialist, a pulmonologist, I have mild to medium sleep apnea. Now, for a change, I actually felt good. I felt I was in charge of my health. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I felt empowered. Now, in this episode, when I look at it, I think the healthcare provider was possibly in the best position to know about me. The insurer, for the most part, the relationship was very transactional in nature. But, Gail mentioned about this, we have new players, we have new entrants in the market. The tech companies and the retail companies, they appear to have a leg up when it comes to consumer proximity and trust. They are actually well positioned to enable preventive care and wellness. And this is happening now, and it's happening very fast. And this distance of the healthcare consumer from pharma is increasing every single day. I know it's very depressing when you hear that, you're moving further and further away from the one stakeholder that you want to impact, that you're moving further and further away from your purpose. And this is an existential crisis for pharma. But we are not here to have a depressing session. So let's lift it all up. What do we do? How do we break these boundaries? How do we reshape and make sure that pharma is playing a very effective role in the US healthcare? Now, let's broadly look at some of these economies at play, which are truly impacting and shaping the future of pharma, of the US healthcare. On the platform economy, and this is beyond the tech firms and the retail firms, we saw a huge, huge increase in digital health venture spending in 2021. This was 2x that of what was spent in 2020. And beneath these numbers, right, numbers are numbers, it was $30 billion. Now, beneath these numbers are signals of something more deeper. They're indicative of the shifts that are happening in healthcare. And these investors, they're not investing in the now. They're investing in these shifts. They're investing in the future. Let's talk about what kind of platforms are these. First up, we have the data platform. So these platforms, they gather and analyze large amounts of data, which help in better diagnosis or to generate more personalized treatment plans for patients. Then we have the platforms with horizontal integration, right? They are more tied to a specific condition like diabetes or cancer. Think about an integrated platform for the entire cancer cure path, all the way from screening to diagnosis to treatment to post-treatment as well. Then we have the platforms with vertical integration. Now, these are interesting players. They do not focus on any specific indication, but they connect players from different parts of the healthcare value chain. They are bringing pharma companies, for instance, together with the pharmacies. They're tying the telemedicine providers with hospitals. And the last one, infra and interoperability platforms. Think of these as the platform of platforms. So they are the ones who are tying the horizontals and the verticals and bringing them together. They are the meta platforms. And why am I talking about this? You've got to watch this cohort of platform players because they are pushing the market ahead. They're pushing the healthcare industry ahead in many different ways. First, they are lowering any upstart barriers that players have in this healthcare ecosystem. And two, they're reducing the cost, they're reducing the friction to do digital health integration. And three, they're creating a unified data ecosystem for the US healthcare. So please have them on our radar. I think these partnerships will help you break those boundaries and get closer to the consumer. We all spoke, Gail spoke wonderfully about the experience, how we need to focus on the patient. The shift has happened, right? And it's all about making sure you're making timely and relevant interventions. So artificial intelligence and machine learning, we saw the polling as well, it plays a significant role in creating systems of intelligence that can help you do better patient engagement and make timely and relevant interventions with the client, with the patient. Now, on the experience economy, once again, design thinking was spoken about. When it comes to the patient, you need to design for all moments of truth, from the zero moment of truth, when the patient does not know anything about you or your product, to the first or the second moment of truth, to the ultimate moment of truth, where there is a combination of expression and desire to share or inform others. So you need to design for all these moments of truth for your patients. And how do you do that? There's a need for you to own this consumer experience platform. We spoke about patient centricity. Most of you have outsourced that, the platform engagement, the data, to either hubs or third-party suppliers. You need to own this platform to own the experience. Now, if you do this, and if you do it right, if you make it timely, if you make it relevant, I, as a healthcare consumer, this is my appeal and a promise, I'll come to trust you. So, a few things in terms of what pharma can consider. We're talking about breaking boundaries. But in order to break boundaries, you need to see the boundaries first. And for you to see the boundaries, start with the purpose and work backwards. They'll become very clear. Second, connect your brand promise to the patient experience and own that experience in entirety. Very important. And when you do that, your role, the clarity in your role becomes very clear. And most importantly, it also informs your platform and partnership strategies that you need to have in place. Gail spoke about this as well. Do not look at the journeys in silos, right? There's a need to link data and interlink all the players who play a role in supporting the patient journey, right? Think of the HCP, the physician, as a partner who is helping you manage the patient journey. And last but not the least, these kind of changes, they have a huge, huge impact on the intangible foundations of any enterprise, right? And so new ways of working, new operating models, new engagement models, new people, new skills, new capabilities, and that's what you would need. Now, in closing, Hannah spoke about this. Over the last couple of years, we have seen a huge transformation in the healthcare ecosystem. An experience that we honestly have not seen before, a coming together of starts of multiple players, all aligned for one purpose. And this was a harmony, an experience that we want to continue, that momentum needs to continue. And there's some great leaders, well-intentioned minds, change agents in this room and beyond. And we are hopeful that you will do what is needed to rethink, reimagine, and reshape the future of pharma. And that is a great deal of optimism that I intend to walk away with at the end of this event. Thank you.